welcome to the Hungaroring, home of the Hungarian Grand Prix here in Budapest. And this is a very important race because we are around 11 of the season. Sign-ups are now officially closed for the top tier. For other tiers, however, it is open, so make sure you check them out if you haven't already. But for the top tier, sign-ups are now closed, so from every race until the final round in Brazil, so we have 10 more races after this. It is vital for all drivers to do the best they can to try and get the seat they can, or to try and retain the seats they can, or to try and not disappear into oblivion, i.e. into, I don't know, champ car or something like that, I don't know. But anyway, the tyres we'll be using for this race will be the medium tyres, and this was the practice top 10 classification. Franco Gamba leading ahead of Chatfield, Perrin, Roque and Byrne the top 5, with Lopez, Galloway, De Rosa, Chung and Willows completing the top 10. And half a second in it between the top 10. Gamba a 10th clear of Chatfield's second position, and he was very good in practice. In qualifying, however, it was a slightly different story, as on pole position for the first time this season was Franco Gamba's teammate George Roque by 0.2 of a second. He really was on it in qualifying, so that was his first pole of the season. Roque, Gamba of course alongside him. Row 2, Chris Chatfield for Ferrari and Laura Chung for Lamborghini. Row 3, Evan Byrne for Renault and Jose Willows for McLaren. Row 4, Rahul Patel for Lamborghini and Jake Galloway for Ferrari. Row 5, we have the two Mercedes, plenty qualifying from their point of view. Franco Lopez in 9th and Ahmad Khan in 10th. Amelia Wilson could qualify from her in 11th position, with Andrea Fideria alongside her in 12th. Row 7 of the grid, we have Jesus Perrin for Renault and Carrozza de Rosa 14th for McLaren. On row 8, Daniel Fraser for Haas and Julius Anderson 16th for Aston Martin. Row 9, Felix Sontag for Williams and Romain Quag 18th for Alfa Romeo. Row 10, we have Roland Moichin for Aston Martin and David Cooper for AlphaTauri. And on the final of the grid, we have Nicholas Gall for AlphaTauri and then Jamie Griffiths in last position for Williams. So that was the grid for the Hungarian Grand Prix, and we'll now take a look at the weather forecast and see what will happen. Actually, well, before that, there is some breaking news, which is that the Monaco and Brazilian GPs have been removed from the 2022 calendar and are replaced by the San Marino GP in Misano and the Argentinian GP in Balcarce. Hopefully I pronounced that right. The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix will become the new final round, while the Korean Grand Prix has been moved to round 3, and the Portuguese GP has been moved to round 14. So there we go, a little bit of interesting news there before we start this race. And weather-wise, for the Hungarian GP, it will be dry. And with that said, let's get ourselves onto the grid. Okay, so here we go. We are about to start 70 laps around the Hungaroring. George Roque with his first pole position season. Can he convert that into his first win of the season? The 5 lights are now on here at Hungary, and we are underway. And Gamba immediately has already got a better launch than Roque. So that's not the start that Roque would have wanted, and Gamba already ahead by the time they get towards the first corner. So Gamba now moves ahead of Roque, and Roque tries to have a go back at Gamba at the first corner, but Gamba keeps a hold of it. And he leads into the first corner, and the big question is, will we have any chaos at turn 1 or around turn 2, of course, the infamous corner around this circuit. But Roque right behind Gamba, and then we've got the Ferrari behind of Chatfield. Could he maybe even get a win? And could he maybe take it away from the 2 Red Bulls? But that is exactly the start that Gamba would have wanted, but of course not the start that Roque would have wanted. Chatfield in 3rd, Chung 4th, Byrne 5th, Lopez, Willows, Patel, Carr and Galloway complete the rest of the top 10. And so far it has been pretty clean. And so Roque coming in towards the chicane there. Gamba already looking to get away from Roque, it seems. You can see the gap already extending. Roque kind of almost in the middle of nowhere there. Gamba already extending the lead. And also Roque does have lighter fuel than Chatfield does. Chung's fairly heavy. She is heavier than Chatfield fuel-wise. We can see what the rest of the field is behind, of course. Pit stop-wise here at the Hungaroring, probably best to do... I don't know if it's either 2 or 3 would be the more optimum strategy, but 2 I guess is the safe option. 3 is the ballsy option. Really want to go for the win and go as fast as you can routine. Gamba already, of course, no surprise, it's the fastest lap. And now meanwhile, this is the battle for 3rd. This is the Lamborghini of Chung trying to pass Chatfield in towards the first corner, and I think she's going to get it done. And she's through up the inside of Chatfield and Chung up into P3, and Byrne meanwhile under pressure from Lopez. But Byrne now putting the pressure on Chatfield in front of him as they're coming towards the final corner here on the long right hand. We already have a yellow flag out on the circuit, And it is Jake Galloway who is out. He's missing his rear wing, and it looks like one of his wheels as well. I think the rear right. And it is an accident, so we're about to find out what happened to him. Now this was Andrea Federi having a look on the inside of Galloway, and yep, they collide. You could see that coming a mile off. And Federi has received a 10-second time penalty causing the incident with car 23, that being Jake Galloway. Not really much of a surprise there. Meanwhile, however, look at that. David Kupok in 10th, up 10 places. That is a quite incredible start, and this is the replay of how he has done it. So he already got a much better start than Moichin, left him for dead. And he again got an amazing launch. He sticks behind Quark for the moment. And they head towards the first corner. Oh, there was Moichin trying to get his way back through. It made him up another position there. Up to 17, 16, 15, maybe even 14th. Could he maybe get into the first corner? Yes, he just about passes Daniel Fraser right behind Federi there. So that was even after the first corner. So he gained 4 more positions in that time to get up into P10. Meanwhile, this is Lopez on the inside of Chatfield into turn 1, and he is through. And Chatfield, despite not having a particularly heavy fuel, struggling for pace at this moment in time. Patel, meanwhile, has got light fuel, so he should get through Chatfield very easy as they head now down the start-finish straight, heading towards the first corner, and Patel already looking on the inside of Chatfield, and this should be an easy move for him. And yet Patel is up into P6. Now, can he go after Lopez because he's on light fuel? Carr, meanwhile, looks to be on the 2-stop strategy. Gamba has got light fuel as well, so he's going to be on the 3-stop. He's already left again, Roke for dead. Now, meanwhile, this is Carr trying to have a look at Chatfield. He's not going to be able to pass here, so he'll have to wait until the start-finish straight, where that's the best place to overtake us. We're looking at Daniel Fraser, who makes a mistake, goes a little bit wide, gets a bit twitchy, loses 2 positions, in fact, one to the AlphaTauri of Nicholas Gal behind him, and then I think it was the Williams as well that passed him on the circuit. I think that was Felix Sontag. The Fraser just goes wide onto the curb and loses the rear end of the car, so he drops now down to 20th place. Now, meanwhile, this is Evan Byrne, who's looking at the Lamborghini of Laura Chung, heading up towards turn 1, and this should be a very easy move for Byrne, and he is through up into 3rd. So Byrne at the moment having a good race, but we've seen it so many times this season before, you wonder how long will it be until he inevitably retires, but he's doing a good job so far. And now this is Laura Chung getting overtaken by Lopez in towards the first corner, and Lopez is up into 4th position, and also Chung might come under pressure from her teammate Rahul Patel at this point, as now we're looking at De Rossa, who's looking to overtake Kupok. This is for P10 in towards turn 1. De Rossa on the inside, and he is through up into 10th position. Now Julius Anderson, meanwhile, moves past Amelia Wilson in the Haas up into 12th, as we're looking now at the Red Bull Roke there, who's way off Gamba, over 8 seconds behind Franco Gamba, so he's left him for dead. Roke got a comfortable gap to Byrne in 3rd, however. Now this is Romain Quag, who overtakes Wilson for P13 up into turn 1. So turn 1, obviously the main overtaking spot on this circuit. The notable nickname this track has is Monaco without the walls. And so as we're looking at Gamba, who is going to be coming into the pits very soon, and that very soon being the next lap, because here he is into the pits, and so we are going to see how quick the stop will be, and I say what strategy will be, and I think we all know what strategy he is going to be on, but it all depends where he comes out in the traffic. So Gamba comes in on lap 13. I'd say probably for any driver that comes in before the lap 19-20 mark, I think he's going to be on the 3-stop strategy. So Gamba pits, and it's quite a slow stop, however. 8 seconds, so not exactly quick there from the Red Bull team. We've seen many quicker stops over the season, so they won't be too happy about that, Red Bull. And Gamba neither will be happy about it, and he's going to come out. He's going to come out in clear air. No, he comes out just behind the McLaren here of Joseph Willows, as they now come down the start-finish straight, heading up towards the first corner. This should be easy pickings for Franco Gamba, and he's on the inside. He's a little bit far back on Willows, and although he does go quite late, and he makes the move on Joseph Willows, although Willows might actually try and have a go back here. Hello, as we're coming into turn 2, Willows is going to have a look at Gamba. This doesn't always go very well, but Gamba holds the position, and now he'll be able to get away. Now we are looking at the Alfa Romeo. This is of Roman Quark, who's looking at passing David Kupok. This is for P11, because Kupok inevitably now getting overtaken by the faster cars. despite having that amazing start. And meanwhile, Joseph Willows making a mistake there, has a little bit of a lock-up. That's going to allow De Rossa to close up to him. And Willows, fuel-wise, it's going to be a 2-stop for him. Didn't see what fuel De Rossa has, but it may be similar strategies. Now this is Pekka Gamble already scything his way through the field, and now he's overtaken Chris Chatfield, who, despite not being on a terrible strategy, is really struggling at this stage in the race. Gamba, however, doesn't make it through past Chatfield into turn 1 there, but speaking of sticking it up the inside, De Rossa passes Joseph Willows. That was for 8th position there. Now, meanwhile, this is George Roke, Pekka Gamba's teammate, who comes into the pits for his first stop of the race, and it is on lap 19, so we'll see what fuel they put into his car.
No pressure. Just prepare yourself for the first gear.
And it's not exactly a hefty amount of fuel, so I think it looks like that Red Bull are going to be on the 3-stop. That is both drivers. So Roke, meanwhile, is going to come out obviously way behind Gamba, so he's going to come up behind both McLarens and Chatfield, so that's not ideal for Roke whatsoever. He wants to close up to the back of Gamba, refresh your tyres. Now, Roke looking up the inside of Joseph Willows into turn 1, and he's now back up into 8th place, so that's 1 McLaren down. Now time to pass the other, which is De Rossa in front. And so we're looking now at, this is Patel, who has obviously made his first stop. That's why he is so far back in the field. So we'll see if he can get points. He's quite far behind obviously after that stop, but obviously everyone else is going to be stopping on their respective strategies. Byrne, meanwhile, is temporarily in the lead of this race. Now, meanwhile, this is George Roke passing De Rossa in the McLaren. So heading up towards turn 1. Roke up the inside. This should be an easy move, and yet Roke passes Chatfield. Passes De Rossa, I should say, for that position. Chatfield is up ahead, so he is a few seconds up ahead, Chatfield, but I believe he's pitting soon anyway, so you may not have to deal with him. Willows, meanwhile, in the pits, and so is the Frenchman of Romain Quag in the Alfa Romeo, and I think these two are definitely going to be, or Quag certainly is going to be, on the 2-stop. You can see how much fuel they put in, and Willows is slightly less than Quag, so yep, it is going to be a 2-stop for both these two. So Quag comes out of the pits in 18th position, and Willows comes out 1 position ahead. Meanwhile, this is Chatfield now coming into the pits, so Roke will be relieved, so Roke will be free to try and close the gap to Franco Gamba ahead, or see if he can anyway close the gap to Gamba ahead, because he is on slightly fresher tyres than Gamba. But Chatfield, meanwhile, is in. He's surely going to be on the 2-stop. I mean, can you imagine him doing nearly was it nearly a 45 or a 45 plus laps stint on one set of tyres? I don't think that would go down too well, although Ferrari would do that type of thing, as we know. Meanwhile, Rahul Patel is overtaking Jamie Griffiths in the Williams in towards the first corner, and he is now up into 12th position, rapidly going through the cars at a quick rate of knots. Meanwhile, this is Franco Lopez and Evan Byrne into the pits, and so this is set to be a pit stop battle. Of course, they were temporarily in the lead, but overall in the order, this is the battle for 3rd position.
Okay, no prep.
So Lopez in, Byrne is in as well. Meanwhile, Gamba looking to go past Carr in the first corner. Carr not making it easy for him. They head into turn 1, and I think has Gamba got through on the inside? And the answer is yes, just about, although Carr might try and attack back coming into turn 2, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Let's just know he doesn't, so he stays behind him there. Lopez, meanwhile, is going to come out, I think, ahead of Anderson. Well, crucially in the pit stops, he's jumped Byrne in the stop, and crucially as well, he comes out ahead of Julius Anderson in the Aston Martin. So that has worked out perfectly for Franco Lopez in that stop, and Byrne is not going to be happy with that at all. Meanwhile, Renault themselves are not going to be happy because Vettel just passed Jesus Perronin at turn 1. Now this is Laura Chung, who is coming in for her first pit stop of the race. She was temporarily leading as well, and so she is in, and we will see where she comes out with regards to the rest of the order. So there's going to be another team coming in as well, and the Lamborghini pit box is right at the end of the pit lane, the last pit box in the pit lane.
Okay, no pressure. And
so Chung changes the tyres, obviously on a 2-stop, and Chung will come out onto the circuit. And to be honest, it was not, as I say, that quick a stop. but he's going to come up behind Evan Byrne, who still hasn't actually yet passed Julius Anderson, but I think he may do now, and he finally has passed Julius Anderson for P5 there. Now meanwhile this is Amar Kar that is coming into pits, and also Julius Anderson himself is going to be pitting this lap too. So he could be pitting. So I mean, Julius Anderson actually has been doing a good first stint for Aston Martin, really, and we know the Aston Martin car is certainly not the best. You could say that. And so we're looking now at Amar Kar in the pits, and 8.4 second stop. So he's going to come out. He's already down to P6. I think he'll come up behind. Actually, no, I say no, he won't come up behind Anderson. Anderson's pitting this lap, or is he? No, he is in the he is in the pits this lap. I thought for a second he'd gone past, but it was his teammate Moichin. So Anderson, as I said, is in, and so Carr comes out in 8th position. So he's going to have to pass David Kupok, although Kupok is pitting soon, and Roland Moichin, who's just a little bit ahead, is also pitting this lap too. Anderson coming out of the pits there. Now meanwhile this is the battle for P7. This is Amar Kar, who was in 7th place, trying to get past David Kupok, who's in 6th. And so it's a late move by Carr in turn 1. But he makes it past the German Kupok, so a good move there. And Kupok himself pitting this lap as well. And meanwhile there was Chatfield, who has just passed Perrin, who's had a very anonymous race so far. First time we've seen him at all this race. And so meanwhile we're looking at your race leader, Franco Gamba, who at the moment is clear. Or the gap is slightly less than it was before the stop, but it's still, well, in these terms, a long gap, or a big gap. But so we're looking at Roku is 1,000ths up in the first sector on his personal best time. Now we're looking at De Rossi, who's trying to pass Perrin. This is for 9th in towards the first corner, and he does that with ease. So he passes Perrin for 9th. Easy move there for the Italian driver. So we're looking meanwhile at Roke, who is in 2nd place, trying to see what he can do, if he can do anything to catch up to Gamba, although he has caught up a little bit, down to 7.4, but it's not enough right now. It is simply not enough for him. So we're looking now at Julius Anderson meanwhile, who goes past Perrin for 10th place into turn 1. Good move there by the Swedish driver, who's having a good race so far, and he's on fresh tyres too, so it could even get better for him, maybe as the race goes on. Now this is Anderson's teammate Moichin, who is looking to pass Quaggin towards the first corner, and Moichin has done it. He is up into P13, and now he's got Trisha Willis in front of him as well. Meanwhile this is Rahul Patel for his 2nd stop. Of course he's making one more before the end, him being on the 3-stop strategy, which is, I don't know if I'd say it's working out per se, but he's quite far down the order. And so he rejoins down in P15. Meanwhile Gamba, who's coming up to the back of that golden Haas in front of him, but he now clears the way as Gamba goes into the pits for his 2nd stop, and I don't think it will be his last. So he's going to make 3 stops here. And so Gamba now into the pits. And so here we go. We'll change all 4 tyres, and yep, Gamba is going to be pitting once more for the end. And I mean, Roke, I mean, if he wants to win, and he's pitting a few laps after Gamba, he could try and go to the end. But we'll see if that's what Red Bull decide to do. But Gamba meanwhile comes out of the pits, and he's going to come out as like behind Evan Byrne. Will he come out ahead of Chung? This could be close, but he does come out ahead of Chung at least. But although he does have a bit of overtaking to do, Lopez meanwhile is obviously on the 2 stops, and Byrne is as well. Actually, Byrne is on the same strategy as actually George Roke is now into the pits for his 2nd stop, and we'll see if he decides to go to the end, although I don't think he will. I think he's going to be on the same strategy as Pekka Gamba, as Gamba looks to pass Byrne in towards turn 1, and Gamba does make it through up into 2nd place. Now he's got Lopez in front, who is not pitting until the same time as Gamba is, so he needs to pass him, Gamba, quickly. So as they're coming through now down turn 3, heading towards the fast left-hander turn 4. And so, as we look now at Roku's come out in P5, a little bit behind this gaggle of cars, but he could close up because he's in clear air. And whereas these guys, I think, do have a bit of I don't know. Actually, they've got a bit of traffic. Oh, hang on a minute. That Lambo just turned very, very right into the chicane, a severe right. So I don't know if something has happened to the Lamborghini there. Chung, yellow flag is out, and yes, Chung is out of the race. Laura Chung is out. And yeah, I just saw in the corner of the screen there, kind of the chicane, I could see Chung suddenly veer to the right. And so it is a mechanical failure for Laura Chung, gutting, because she was having a great race. And yet, there we go. We see her pulling off to the side. And that is her race done and dusted here in Hungary. And it was, I think it was a suspension failure that it was. Meanwhile, this is Franco Gamba, who is trying to get past Lopez, but not having much luck at this moment in time. He's got another yellow flag out as Perrin is around. And he has spun. That's coming up towards the last bit of the lap as he rejoins right in front of the Alfa Romeo there for Dairy. And Kupok did not make any contact with Perrin, so that mistake was all Perrin's own fault, as you can see. And then this was for Dairy, who was just coming around the corner, then sees Renault rejoin right in front of him. So he won't be too happy about that. Now, meanwhile, this is Gamba, who still hasn't got past Lopez, and as you can see in the background, George Roque in the Red Bull has caught up this big gaggle of cars. And oh, hang on a minute, Perrin is just coming out of the pit, so he's going to get involved too. It's all going to start kicking off here soon enough. And Perrin, who's going to be on fresher tyres than all of these guys, is all going to start to kick off very, very soon. As we just saw in the last bit there, Lopez went slightly wide coming into turn 2, but managed to get away with it. Now this is the Red Bull Gamba trying once again on the inside. Meanwhile, Roque now passes Byrne, crucially, for third position behind, who has only got the other Renault of Perrin. And then, of course, the battle for the lead, as Lopez definitely is struggling on these tyres. Gamba, however, just can't quite seem to get past him at this moment in time. As we're looking now at this battle once again, Gamba all over the back of Lopez. They're heading up towards the final sector of the lap. And oh, Lopez has lost it! Lopez has spun on his own, and would you believe it? And that has just opened it right up to Franco Gamba now. And he takes the lead of this race. Would you believe it? And Lopez rejoins just in front of his teammate car there. But would you believe it? Lopez losing it on his own. And yeah, once again, no touch there from Gamba. So that frees up the top 3. Lopez now under pressure of his team. But meanwhile, this is Gamba, who's got a bit of trouble. He's got this Haas in front of him here. And Roque also looking to go past the Haas. And oh, he's made contact incredibly. George Roque makes contact with his teammate and takes the lead. Would you believe it? And Roque, from out of absolutely nowhere, just dive bombs into the chicane, having passed the Haas, and then just went for it on the inside of Gamba. And amazingly, somehow, neither wheel has come apart from their cars. And wow, incredibly, this is the replay. And Gamba definitely was not expecting that. And I don't think he'll be too pleased with that, to be brutally honest. So Byrne is in the 3 as we've got several cars going out of the pits, and meanwhile the 2 Mercedes are battling here. This is for P4 as they're coming into turn 1, and oh, would you believe it? It's happened once again for about the 70th time, and Franco Lopez has been eliminated from this race, and Armar Car, wow, he's going to have to pit for a new front wing. So any chance that Mercedes have of maybe still snatching the win today have gone. And so Lopez is the unfortunate recipient of the Mercedes disaster class. And you can see that coming. I mean, it's been very clean this race at turn 1 as well. We've had no incidents until now. And Car collects the side of Lopez's car. And that is his race over. And speaking of the race, it's still on between Gamba. So clearly, despite Roque passing Gamba, he clearly doesn't quite have the pace that Gamba does, as actually he's coming into the pits earlier than Roque is, of course. Willows is in, and he's, at the moment, outside of the points. He's not had a very good second half of this race. He was struggling in the first half anyway, but he's not having it any better in the second half, as we're now looking at Gamba coming in for his final stop of the race. This will be crucial to get back ahead of his teammate Roque. And so, of course, he pits fuel to the end. So now Gamba is going to absolutely go for it. Quick stop there for him as well. And so, can Roque do anything about it? Can he up the pace? Can he get anything more out of the car than he's currently getting? Byrne, meanwhile, the shout out to him, has kept it clean amongst all of this and is running in second for the time being. But how long will that last? I don't know. Roque is going on for a few laps longer, as Byrne, meanwhile, comes into the pits. So maybe Byrne himself might try and do the undercut on Roque. They're all trying to undercut each other. But of course, Byrne, at best, will finish second. At worst, he'll finish third, which is still not bad. Well, I say at worst, but yeah. Anyway, Byrne in the pits. He changes all 4 tyres. 5.3 seconds. So he's going to come out in P3 unless De Rossa goes by on the straight. And the answer is no, he's not. So Byrne is in a very, very comfortable podium position right now. Roke at the moment still leading. He's going to be pitting in about 2 laps time, maybe even 1, because Gamba clearly, I think, is going to come out ahead of him. And it's all about if Roke can get back at him once again. But of course Gamba wants to win this race for the championship, as meanwhile Chatfield battling with Julius Anderson here into turn 1. And he makes it stick up the inside there. Anderson down to 7th place, but he still had a great race. Has Julius Anderson. I mean, to be 7th in the Aston Martin is quite the achievement, you can say. As we're looking at Roke once again coming across the line with just 11 laps to go. And he's pitting this lap, so he could have gone maybe a lap or so longer. But he is going to pit this lap as Kupok has just come out of the pits. Patel, meanwhile, has just passed Moishin for 8th place. As Patel trying to recover points on that 3-stop. So I'd say it has still worked, I think, the 3-stop for him. Although he's going to finish, he would have finished, I should say, comfortably behind teammate Chung. Although, of course, Chung is not, no longer, I should say, in this race. So now Roke is coming in and Gamba 70.9 behind. So Gamba clearly is going to come out in front. And I don't know about Byrne, if Roke comes out ahead of Byrne or not. Or have to overtake Byrne. If he doesn't have to overtake Byrne, he can well and truly go after his teammate Gamba, but we'll see. The stop was a little bit slower than Gamba's, over a second slower actually, so Gamba already passed him down the front straight. Now where is Byrne? Has he come across the line yet? And the answer is no, I believe. And no, it looks like Roke is still going to be in 2nd position. So the big question is, can Roke go after Gamba with just 10 laps to go? Has he got enough pace in the car to do it? Meanwhile, De Rossa comes out in 8th position, just behind Patel, as Kupok still running in 10th at the moment, and he's set to get a point unless anything goes wrong. Perrin, of course, after that spin, down in 12th. Willows very far down in 14th, and my word, he has really dropped off in the second half of this race. Now, meanwhile, this is the battle between Patel and De Rossa. This is for P7 and P8, so De Rossa looking to go past Patel for P7. De Rossa up the inside, and he goes through up into 7th position there past the Indian driver. And so now we're on to the final lap of the race, and as you can see, Roke, although he has been able to close the gap, Gamba has too much in hand on him, really, I think you have to say. And so despite that little instant they had at the chicane between Gamba and Roke, Gamba still didn't let that phase him and just did it purely on pace, and I think he's definitely deserved the race win today, that is for sure. And despite Roke closing up with all that traffic, I mean Gamba clearly was the quicker car, and it was only because he couldn't pass Lopez that I suppose Roke was kind of brought into it. He always had the pace over Roke in this race, and thus Roke did need some help, and he did get some help, but it still wasn't enough. And Roke is still going to be waiting for that elusive first win. He got his first pole position here in Hungary, but he's still yet to get his first win of the season. But Franco Gamba, he is the man of the moment once again as he comes round the final corner of the 70th and final time. And he is the winner here in Hungary. Congratulations to him in 1 hour and 29 minutes, just under an hour and a half. As we're looking at Roke, who laps Willows across the line. And so Roke P2. Evan Byrne as well, shout out to him. Great performance. Takes P3. As we're looking through the rest of the order coming through. So Amakar will come across the line and take P4. And I suppose I'll say I'd be happy with that. It could have been maybe the podium had he not had that collision with his own teammate. But meanwhile, shout out to the man behind Amelia Wilson, who is going to finish in 17th. Julius Anderson set to finish in the top 5 for Aston Martin. That's a great performance from him as he now comes across the line. P5 for Julius Anderson, P6 for Chris Chatfield, P7 for De Rossa and Patel, who is battling with Ronan Moishin, the other Aston Martin, for 8 positions. So as they're coming round the final quarter, will Patel hold on to 8 positions as they come up towards the line? And the answer is yes. Moishin tried to have a look there, but not enough momentum off the corner. David Kupok across the line in 10th position. Daniel Fraser is set to come across the line in 18th position. Not last, however, as Federi comes across the line in 11th. Perrin in 12th, not his race. Quarg in 13th, and that is race over. So there we go. Here is the full race results from the Hungarian GP. Craig Gamble winning ahead of George Rogan 2nd, Evan Byrne 3rd, Amakar 4th, Julius Anderson 5th, Chris Chatfield 6th, Karosov Rossa 7th, Rahul Patel 8th, Roland Munch 9th, and David Kupok completing the points in 10th, with Craig Gamble getting that extra point as well for fastest lap. Perrin moves up into 11th position because, of course, Federi had that 10-second time penalty, so he drops behind his teammate as well, Quarg, down to 13th. Joseph Willers 14th, Middlescough 15th, Thierry Cooper 16th, Emilio Wilson 17th, Daniel Fraser 18th, Felix Sontag 19th, the only car 2 laps down, with Franco Lopez, Laura Chung, and Jake Galloway, the 3 retirees from this race. So now in the drivers' standings, Franco Galloway extends his lead over Amakar in 2nd place. Meanwhile, George Rowe moves up into 3rd position. So from being nowhere, Roke has now somehow managed to squirm his way up into the top 3 of the championship, despite, of course, no wins this season. So I suppose he'll be very happy with that, although still a bit gutted that he hasn't got that elusive win yet. Julius Anderson, meanwhile, extends the gap over Quarg behind in 14th, so he's now only 4 points off of De Rossa. And still Andrea Federi, the only driver this season yet to score a point, and again, we all know he has got points in our heads after Silverstone. But in the Constructors' Championship, however, Red Bull are ahead of Mercedes by 15 points, so that is a change in the order there. Renault in 3rd, ahead of Ferrari by 40 points. Ferrari, who are 28 points ahead of Lamborghini 5th, McLaren 6th, Aston Martin 7th, Williams in 8th, just 1 point ahead of AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo in 10th, and then Haas in 11th, and Julius Anderson was the man who was voted the driver of the day. No surprise for a great finish in the top 5, which no one was really expecting. And so there we go. The next round of the season, the round 12, will be the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps. Thanks everybody for watching. Don't forget to, as usual, give the video a like, check out our links in the description, check out our Twitter, check out our Wikia page, and join our Discord. That's a great to everybody, and we'll see you for the next round at Spa. Goodbye.